Hey guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, today we're gonna take a look at some Cattleya seedlings. Some of you might already know these seedlings. I have them for a year and a half, a year, 2 years maximum. Throughout this time, a few more have joined the club, so they're not all purchased or received at the same time. One of you actually asked me to make an update on these orchids, and I think it's the perfect day to do that because it is time to flush them. And I like to flush pots by soaking them and then flushing them. I feel like that's the best way to remove all of those deposits. I like to allow time for the salts to really dissolve in water rather than just flushing really fast the pot and just putting it back. I don't think I do a good job when I do that. Anyway, as you can see, they are bone dry, so they could use a watering. So we're just gonna take a look at every one of them, and when we're done, I'm gonna let them soak. So let's start. I think we'll start with this one. Alright, so I hope you'll excuse the whoosh sound you hear in the background. I just had to turn on the AC. It's so hot right now. It's summertime here. So here I have the Cattleya persivaliana variety on Dine. I received this orchid, and as I understand, it is a rather rarer variety. This is the newest one to the bunch, I believe. Yeah, it's the most recent one. Now, if you don't know, I did move these orchids in a combination of leca and sphagnum moss. Oh, they're so dry. Poor babies. I really got caught up in stuff and I didn't water them, but today they're gonna get a good soak. So I did the change of medium and setup because, as you will see with some orchids, the older ones which caught the semi-hydro or the leca setups, they displayed some things that I didn't like, such as calcium deficiency. I believe it is. It could be something else. Anyway, a sort of leaf tip dieback, which I believe is not caused by dehydration and things of the sort. It looks textbook calcium deficiency, so you'll see what I mean. So I decided to add something that will pipe down the pH. If you don't know, the brand of leca that I find here raises the pH to the skies. I do have a video where I show this 2 years ago or so. We discovered that this leca is, it's a little problematic. So with these guys, which do require a little bit more water, a little bit lower pH, I had some issues with them which were just not okay to me. So I switched them to leca and sphagnum moss, and it is going better. I still don't like a few things about the leca. As you can see, it's a top layer here. It creates some salts at the top that I'm not okay with sometimes. Oh my goodness. I think this is a cue for me to stop blabbing and get to the updates. Anyway, that's why the setup changed. I don't know if I'm gonna keep it. It's definitely better with the sphagnum moss, but I don't know if these seedlings, which need more attention and which are more sensitive than the mature ones, are meant for leca. You know what I mean? I think they're meant for moss or a combination. I think they will love moss, and I might do a switch soon. Anyway, this particular one, as you can see, is so incredibly tiny, and sadly, ever since I received it, it didn't really grow anything. But it did grow roots. In the other setup, it didn't even want to grow roots. It was that bad. So I just added a little bit of sphagnum moss. I think it was in the time where I didn't have too much sphagnum moss at my disposal, so I was kind of scarce with it. I want to change the setup of this particular one ASAP. It's too much leca, you'll see in comparison to the others, but certainly it has promoted some roots. And the orchid looks okay, no signs of deficiency, but it is a slow grower, it is sensitive, and I need to baby it a little bit. But overall, she's better than others, to be fully honest. Next one with textbook calcium deficiency. This is an older one. This is Cattleya ludemaniana SA Cerro Verde Cross Self. SA, I don't know what SA means, but anyway, we will see in a few years how it looks like. So do you notice anything with this orchid? Yeah, the blackening here, this is very old. It is not rotting. Calcium deficiency, especially on Cattleyas, which are the ones first to show a deficiency of calcium, it looks like rotting, and especially new growths will display it since calcium is not mobile through the plant. And many of the times it is actually confused with black rot or rotting of some sorts. Has nothing to do with that. It's a very confusing sign, but thinking of the context, it makes sense. At some point, this actually was the new growth. And this has not advanced ever since it appeared, pretty much, which was quite a long time ago, a year ago or something. And the new growth at the moment is this one, which you can see is the biggest one out of everything, so that's good. That's a good sign. This was a very tiny orchid. And in the pot, oh, this one is still a little bit moist. In the pot, you can see that we do have roots. which have grown, and I do believe this one will appreciate a little bit more moss as well. But I'm happy to see that the new growths look so nice, so green. There's another one here. So definitely the change was good, and obviously who doesn't like to see this really nice vivid green color? I don't know if I mentioned this, but I will share with you down below in the description more articles and images so you can see and learn more about this deficiency. It's a trend lately with the calcium, really, so everybody's like, oh, what is this little tiny discolored spot? No matter the color, it's calcium, has to be calcium. So no, it's usually and typically not. Not all orchids will display a calcium deficiency, especially if you have a CalMag type of fertilizer. You don't need to add it separately most of the times. But if there are some factors which overall impair nutrient absorption, then obviously no matter what fertilizer you have, you might have some issues. But it's good to know how to spot them and how to identify them. Not everything is a calcium or magnesium deficiency. Sometimes it's a water deficiency. Yes, you heard me correctly. If you don't water as frequent as your orchids will need, they will actually display nutrient deficiency. You have to have a certain pressure in the orchid at all times. You have to have water inside the pot for the orchid to absorb those nutrients. What I'm trying to say, see the whole context. Don't go and pump stuff into your orchid when you're not sure why your orchid is doing what it's doing anyway. So as you can see, with this one, we have some deficiencies as well. A little bit here, a little bit less here. It varied. When it got a little bit too hot and the water evaporated a little bit too fast, I got more deficiencies. When it was cooler and more moist, obviously the nutrients were more available in the pot, but because of the very high pH of the leca, the absorption was just not optimal. So this orchid did not get the amount of nutrients it needed. So I switched it. As with the others, this one actually is quite the root producer, and I didn't tell you what this is. This is the Doyana variety Aurea. It's a good one. Hopefully it's not mislabeled. And here's the new growth. It's going to be, as I see it, a little bit bigger than the other one. And I don't really see any deficiency on this one. This is not deficiency. These are pigmentations of the sheaths. This orchid has a little bit of pigmentation, but what we're looking for are these things, not pigmentation spots and freckles, which are actually dark purple. No, we're looking for like black stuff. That's what you don't want to see. So the Doyana is doing good. Hopefully I scratched another year of my wait until I see the flowers, but it will take a lot of time with these seedlings to see the flowers. Next up, this is a newer one, and I think this is better. This is a Cattleya barefoot mailman rainbow. Oh, it's a really, really pretty one. So this one did not actually experience the full leca setup. As a result, there is no calcium deficiency on this one. It was directly potted in leca and sphagnum moss, as you can see, and the roots are really growing well. Also, as you can see, the new growths are pretty big in comparison to the older growths. Now, there is another type of deficiency which will not necessarily show you that it is a deficiency, but it is in many cases, and especially on seedlings. When you have a seedling, each growth should be bigger than the other one until the orchid reaches maturity and full size, obviously. If the new growths do not grow bigger than the previous growths, or they just grow just the tiniest bit bigger when they actually should be this is what the difference should be, then something is wrong. Do you have roots? If yes, then the roots are not the problem. If you don't have roots, then that's the problem. End of the story, end of discussion. Do you have adequate environment for it? If no, then maybe that's the problem. If yes, then sorry, that's not the problem. If everything is perfect on your orchid, if you have roots, if you have previous leaves, previous pseudobulbs, and practically no reason for your orchid not to grow fast, it's a deficiency. And it's a deficiency of pretty much everything because the orchid simply did not accumulate enough nutrients to support a new growth of a considerable size. And you will not see spots, you will not see discolorations, tinges of any sorts. You will just see signs of stress. It can be a deficiency as well, but it's a general deficiency. So I am looking at that as well, and I do see some of these orchids could have grown bigger than they did. So that means a change. This one, as I was saying, did not experience the full leca setup. I did have this sphagnum moss to pipe down the pH and make absorption of nutrients more efficient, and that's the result. It's there, so I'm convinced of what I need to do from now on. Next up, another one of the older ones. This is the Cattleya Hardiana Semi-Alba. Oh, this should be a really, really pretty one. As you can see, we have signs of what I believe is calcium deficiency here. They are not getting any further than this. At some point I will cut them, but you know me, I leave them on because I know that at some point I will make a video about it. I will have stuff to tell you, and I want to show you the bad stuff to see how it looks like. So after today I can go ahead and cut all of this damage that doesn't look good, but it's important for me to actually film it. So this orchid is doing great. Again, nice roots. You can't really see them because they're so dry that you cannot tell which is root, which is sphagnum moss, but they're there. And this one actually grew a super big new growth, latest growth. So I'm happy with how this one went with the setup change. It is growing new growth currently here, and it doesn't look like it has any deficiency. So I'm pretty happy with how this one is going. I just need to water these orchids more. From now on, I have time. It's okay. Okay, now here's an orchid which is not all that old, but not all that new either. This is a Cattleya Orchid. Yeah, I have the Orchid. It's a seedling, it's a baby. This is not a super huge orchid anyway, but this one is quite young. So this one was placed in full leca and it hated it with all of its being. I didn't keep it enough to get deficiencies. That's not how I detected that she didn't like it, but the roots refuse to grow. They say that Cattleya roots are finicky, or Cattleyas are finicky generally. I kind of agree. They're not just easygoing like other Cattleyas, and definitely the setup did not work. So with this one I went full organic, I have to say. It wasn't all that long ago when I switched, and as you can see, the results are starting to show. This is a root which is super long. I've never had super long roots on this orchid, so things are going okay. I'm happy I did the switch. So with some Cattleyas, and especially those that have a bad reputation of being finicky, you know, there might be some truth to it. They might actually prefer some more traditional styles, some more easier to maintain setups, especially if you know that you don't have that time to always look at it, see if it needs a little bit of water or adjusting or things of the sorts. If you know you're prone to just not be on time with watering, maybe not go with something like this. So I agree that the Cattleya is more finicky than the others, but I think she's on the right track. I think she likes the setup, and I really like the new growth. Look at that. Is it? Oh yes it is. Nah, no it's not. It is the biggest bifoliate growth. All of the others are unifoliate. As these orchids mature, they do create bifoliate canes or pseudobulbs, but if they don't have all they need, or if they are stressed, they will create growths with one leaf. So I'm happy to see a big bifoliate growth. And one that is scheduled for repotting exactly like the Cattleya, I don't know if it's as finicky, I think it kind of is the Cattleya Walkeriana or Valkeriana, depending how you want to pronounce it. Again, this is not a super new orchid, but not a very old orchid either. I purchased it last year, and I placed it, I think, directly in this sphagnum moss and leca setup, and I don't like it. There's nothing here. There should have been roots here. Do you see the new growth? What is this? This is not supposed to look like that. I'm not happy with this one, so I will move it. And do you see these roots? They just stopped growing because the leca is so dry on the top. I think this is yet another one of those Cattleya types or species which just need a more traditional setup, a more safe, let's say, setup. At least with my possibilities and with my life and lifestyle and, you know, everything that I can offer. Next up, my second Dowiana, and now that I actually looked at the tag, I realized the first Dowiana I showed you was the Rosita. This is the Aurea, supposedly. At the rate I'm getting mislabeled orchids, I don't even know. So these orchids could be anything. To be fully honest, they could be anything. So this one is actually doing quite okay. She does seem to enjoy this setup quite a lot more than the leca, although as you can see she didn't really fuss all that much. I don't have much deficiencies or anything to really complain about with this orchid, but I think she does prefer a little bit more the sphagnum moss. Being that she's a seedling and we don't have many older growths, the sphagnum moss makes everything easier. So I do have a new growth developing, and I do believe it will be bigger than the previous one. A few more to go. This is yet another one of the original seedling batch. This is the Cattleya triumphans. Triumphans. Anyway, she is doing very well, but again, we can see some signs that just don't look very right. But we can see that she didn't suffer as much as others. With this one, I don't see anything going wrong. I really do like the way it's growing, and I'm seeing bigger and bigger growth. So I'm pretty happy with how things are going. We're still many years before we see flowers, and who knows what orchid this is, but you'll be the first ones to know. And lastly, this is another older one. This is the second Cattleya hardiana. This is not the semi-alba. I think I showed you that I have a semi-alba at this point. It's hard for me to keep track. This again, I never actually had issues with it. I do seem to have quite a good root system, and it just needs water. But overall, we're pretty much okay. These growths were just so big. They were flopping over. This orchid seems to be a little unruly, so I had to stake them, but they look pretty good. I have new growth starting. I cannot complain. But again, I do just feel like everybody is appreciating the addition of sphagnum moss. Even if it's not a lot, the addition of it just made everything look a little bit better. You know what I mean? They just seem to appreciate it more. That's about it on these seedlings, but regarding the nutrient deficiency issue, it's easy to just say, oh, nutrient deficiency. Yes, I can see it's a nutrient deficiency. You can see there's something lacking, but identifying what causes it, I believe that's the approach we should have. Not, oh, I see a deficiency, I will pump some of that extra stuff this orchid is lacking. I absolutely do not agree with that, and I do consider it's more of a waste than anything else. Yes, if you don't have a fertilizer which contains everything that the orchid should get, it does not contain a full menu, absolutely, if you cannot find that type of fertilizer, you can just supplement with whatever you are missing. Absolutely, but if you have a full menu fertilizer, like many fertilizers are starting to be now on the market, what's the point to pump more? When did excess ever helped anyone? In the best case scenario, it's just flushed with the water. In the worst case scenario, it can interact with the other nutrients and create a different type of deficiency. So I don't believe exaggerating is ever good. You don't exaggerate with something to fix it. You find out why your routine doesn't work. So alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching and for suggesting this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. You know the drill, like, dislike, subscribe to my channel for regular orchid videos, tutorials, Q&As, other fun orchid subjects that I will think of. And if you wish to support the channel, do consider visiting the merch store down below in the description. With that said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!